customers who want to increase their online security. And once again, it's companies who manufacture the online security software who are going to be benefiting from this hoax.
Yeah, they are. And I'm sure that Hold Security in the last 24 hours has made quite a bit off of this hoax. People are scared and they want to find out if they've been hacked. Mm-hmm. Now, if you do want to find out if your email address has been compromised, which is a big part of the story that this company has put out. They're mentioning email vulnerabilities. You can go to third-party free sites. Like there's one called haveibeenpwned.com. It's haveibeenpwned.com. You can actually go to a site like that, put in any email address that you want, and it checks a lot of it's not comprehensive, but it can give you an idea of accounts that you have that may have been hacked. So that's a good resource, and you don't have to pay $120 for that.
So should people change their passwords now?
Not really, not in response to this. One thing I've seen with Yahoo, eBay, a lot of these companies, when a cyber attack is known, usually within 6 months, if not within 2 weeks, they're putting some sort of notification out to their users. In the recent past, even, it has been 2 months, 3 months, 6 months before the company says anything, but I see that window narrowing. People want to know sooner. They're angry to find out that these companies didn't reveal serious breaches earlier to them. So I think the window's narrowing a little bit. So a lot of journalistic reporting on cyber attacks is very helpful, and it actually spurs these companies to action. But if you overdo it, it can have the opposite effect, and people will do nothing, which isn't good.
Wow. So how do websites like Pwned work?
They actually they can only test major websites like Adobe, Yahoo. There's even some third-party sites that can submit data, but in each case, the company themselves has to give a site like this kind of a database of credentials that have been hacked. So the companies themselves are actually providing the information to these third-party websites. What I don't know is if these websites pay the companies for that information. That's a question we'll have to explore another time, but the companies that know they've been attacked actually give up the information. There are some companies like Symantec and Kaspersky, and they just have a way of tracing these things, and the formulas are very secret. They're afraid if they reveal how they uncover the cyber attacks that they'll give too much information to their competitors, so the details aren't always there. But it's a combination of the companies voluntarily giving the information and security researchers running traces. Actually, I can give you an example of this kind of trace. There is software that you can download, in some cases free or very cheap, and it can if you give it a series of IP addresses, like Google's IP addresses, they fall within a certain well-known range. If you give it a range of IP addresses, it can actually check and see if somebody asked for traffic on a specific port on the internet, and it will actually report back to you the number of times that the requests were made on that port. So it's kind of interesting.
Okay, so how would the security companies and the software companies, how would they try to protect the business computer or the home computer from cyber attacks in the future?
Well, I think we're going to see a move from simple usernames and passwords to combination devices. A lot of laptops for businesses and even high-end consumer laptops now, they're coming with smart card readers, fingerprint readers, even eye scanners.
So biometrics are coming in.
Biometrics are coming in. We've had guests talk about RFID chips before, but there are RFID devices that generate a special code every 60 seconds or so. And because the code has changed that rapidly, the idea is an attacker really can't guess what that code is going to be. So that would go a long ways to adding to the safety of the devices.
Are Apple computers more apt to be hacked than Windows-based computers?
Not really. Historically, Apple and Mac and Linux and Unix-based systems, they were more secure because their applications run in something called a sandbox. Each individual application is almost in a silo of its own, and it doesn't interact as much with other applications as you see in Windows. In Windows, you have something called the registry, and it really ties a lot of applications together. And the upside of that is you can have all these programs interacting with each other. You can have increased multimedia effects and some other alleged benefits. But as people have found out over the years, the downside is it's more easy to attack the Windows registry than it is these isolated Apple applications. And I'll tell you something else that's interesting about that. As far as Apple and Mac vulnerabilities, it's actually Java and Adobe and not the Apple operating system itself. That's the real vulnerability. So it's actually third-party software that the hackers are exploiting.
So how do the hackers know if your system has that software on it or not, as to whether or not they can use this software as a gateway into your system?
They actually study in detail because some of this information, even though it's an approximation in many cases, some of this information is freely available online, and they figure that most people use Java-based applications. And when you get a new computer, one of the first things you do now is install Java, install Adobe Flash, and the hackers know that. They know that's something that's commonly used. So once they found weaknesses in that software, they were really able to exploit it. And I think the fact that Apple's are more popular than they were, say, 15 years ago, has encouraged the hackers to attack that kind of software more actively.
Another topic I'd like to speak to you about, Corey, is search engine optimization, or SEO. How does that work?
Well, Google and other major search engines use an algorithm to actually determine what search results you see. And for, I guess, the last 10, 15, 20 years, the number of keywords in a website could help boost the popularity of your website, or search engine ranking, I should say. And the original Google algorithm, they codenamed Panda, and then they made some changes to curtail abuses and developed something called Penguin. And now, just 5 months ago, that's been replaced by Google Hummingbird, which is their latest search engine algorithm. And with Hummingbird, just about everything you've been taught about SEO can be thrown out the window, because what they call black hat SEO software, which is designed to increase the visibility of your page, is actually going to get you penalized on Google. You could actually lose your ranking. You could be delisted for using black hat SEO software. And the difference between black hat SEO software and white hat SEO software is black hat software, it just uses a series of links, and it can help you rank basically junk pages that refer to other junk pages ad infinitum, and it gets you clicks, which can get you revenue from places like Google AdWords. So you can make money by having all these junk pages, and people see the junk pages. They don't see the pages with good content as much, and that's going to get you penalized now. So that's the big positive change that I see.
That's with Google, but there's other search engines out there, aren't there?
Oh, yeah, and each one has their own specific formula. Bing was kind of interesting. When they came on the scene, they wanted to cut out the fact that search engines used to show you not just the main page that you were looking for, but it used to show you every single sub-page within that page. So you might have 20 different search engine hits that were effectively pointing to the same page, and Microsoft and Bing, they found a way to cut down on that, to kind of truncate that down to one base website. So that was a neat idea. I guess the downside is it is less effective at showing you really specific searches. If you have something really general, Bing, it can be useful, but if you want to look for something very specific, you might have a harder time.
Yeah, Google does a pretty good job of finding what you're looking for rather fast. So how did they come up with the concept for a search engine?
You know, that is a story I would have to look into. I know that spiders, they used to call search engines spiders, and it started back in the late 70s, believe it or not. And you had the military develop these networks and network protocols, and they started opening them up to universities, and mostly people tied to the universities in the late 70s and early 80s started developing bulletin board systems.
Sure, the old BBS.
Oh, yeah. And they found a way to develop spiders which could crawl the early web and look for keywords. So that's pretty neat.
All right, Corey, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. X Zone Nation, www.xzonetechzone.com. Corey K is my guest. And we'll both be back on the other side of this short break as we wrap up this hour in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't forget the X Zone store is open at www.thexzonestore.com, and the Relmar Multimedia app is available at Apple, Google Play, and Amazon.com. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.